the best Christian music from yesterday and today. That's the Newsboys with He Reigns.
It is 9:07. It's Mark and Carri in the morning on a Wednesday, and it is, again, 9:07. And Carri, we have a special guest on the phone line with us this morning as we want to talk with executive producer of Heirloom Audio Productions, Mr. Bill Heid. Bill, good morning, and thanks for taking the time to talk with Carri and I this morning. It's good to hear from you again, Bill.
Well, good morning, guys. It's a pleasure to be back with you.
Good morning.
Bill, tell us a little bit about, our listeners may want to know a little bit about Heirloom Audio Productions. Tell us a little bit about who you guys are.
Sure, we love telling stories about history and from a distinctly Christian perspective. So we try to get the narrative right and try to go back in time and really kind of get with this idea of making sure Christ is exactly where he was supposed to be.
Yeah, you do a lot of extensive work. You travel a lot, and you travel a lot all over the country. What's one of the countries you love traveling to and doing studying in, Bill?
Well, we travel to London a lot. That's where we do our stories. And we'll go to Scotland. We'll go to places that we can when we actually are covering a story. When we went to do the story about King Alfred, we covered the area in that Westchester area that he was from, the Wessex area, and where that little kingdom was. And so we'd like to go around and actually kind of get our fingers into things, get our hands dirty, roll up our sleeves and so forth, just to try to get perspective. So we do like to do a little bit of that crawling around. And I might have mentioned this to you before, but when we did the second one called In Freedom's Cause, a lot of the sounds that were made in that one were sounds that really came from the actual places. So if there was a castle where something happened, and you might have heard a door open or shut, that's the real castle door where that really happened. So a lot of the stuff in our audio stories are really authentic from that standpoint.
Yeah, that is awesome. And, Bill, you guys are really famous for audiobooks, but you have a very new project that you've just worked on, and with Memorial Day coming up on Monday, and we're heading into the Memorial Day weekend. I saw the video yesterday. Carri saw the video yesterday. You seem very passionate about Memorial Day, and why did you make this video?
Well, I made the video because I've got a lot of family members and friends that were involved in serving. Some of them are gone, some of them are still alive, and it's my way of kind of paying a tribute. At the same time, trying to put our conflicts, our wars, in their proper biblical context. So that's kind of the theme, and that's what we do, and that's what we try to do. That's what we do in our stories. That's what I try to do with this Memorial Day video. Make sure that it has meaning by putting it in the context, the greater context of Christ-centered history.
That's awesome. Carri, you have a question for Bill you'd like to ask?
Well, you seem very passionate about Memorial Day. Why did you make this video?
Well, like I said, here's one that's interesting. My dad was a Navy reconnaissance pilot during the Korean War, and this was during the Cold War at the same time. And so there was this idea that you were willing to risk your life and do things that had this sense of my country's an important thing, and freedom and liberty are important things. My wife's grandfather, he was in World War II. He served with Patton. He actually, guys, he climbed up a flagpole on a huge building under enemy fire and took a Nazi flag down just because he didn't want that Nazi flag up there. So a lot of people in our family have risked and have taken great steps and great strides. I'll tell you one other little one that's kind of family history that's kind of important. This same man that was in World War II, Warren Parker, one of his great-greats, so there might be three, was John Parker. And John Parker, if you remember, maybe you don't remember, John was the guy that was Captain Parker that in 1775 fired the shot heard around the world at Lexington and Concord. So our country, there's a lot of family and a lot of country in sort of understanding this whole narrative that we've got family involved with.
Yeah, it's so important for the next generation to understand what Memorial Day is all about. And when you look at the holiday, Bill, and you think of your family, why is it important for parents and grandparents to tell our children stories about who we are, where we've been, and where we're going? It's very important, right?
Well, it is. We covered that in the video greatly, so people are going to really want to watch this video and kind of breathe this in before Memorial Day. But it's just kind of my thesis, my idea that if we don't transfer these stories, these ideas, what the sacrifice was, and we don't do it passionately to the kids, they just forget about it. And then you this is what I'll call in the video, and I'll say to you guys, it's kind of the glue that holds civilizations together, that binds us in a certain way, and that's the stories. And you know what? There's no civilization that's ever survived in history where the kids forgot what the parents and grandparents and great-great-grandparents did. Every time in history where that goes away and gets forgotten, you have the loss and disintegration of that civilization. So I think it's vital for us to make sure. I mean, I hire people all the time here at my company, and you'd be shocked and amazed at what folks don't know, especially young folks, what they don't know about how this country got started. And you know, if you went on the street and talked about Memorial Day with the mic, you know, and started asking people what it was, you'd be pretty disappointed in many cases.
We talked about that yesterday, the difference between, you know, the Memorial Day that we know, and then some people think it's the time to go put flowers on the graves.
Yeah, you know, here's another thing, too. When I was young, if you guys as well, I'm 59, but when I was young, we went to the park on Memorial Day. The whole town did, from a small town, Stockton, up in northern Illinois, where I grew up. But we would watch the guys in World War II. They would fire their guns off. There'd be some speeches. And, you know, I had my Cubs hat on. I always, you guys probably have your Cardinals hats on, but I always had my Cub hat on. And, you know, my dad just kind of trained me, and we all did. I mean, we just took our hat off when the flag went by. So there was a different kind of feeling about it than there is today. And I think the further you get away from that kind of thing, the more dangerous it gets, because there really is, the Bible, I think, calls us to remember. And, you know, I mentioned it in Psalm 88, there's a section that talks about a nation that forgets, can't even do righteousness, you know, can't even find out right from wrong, let alone get through their trouble. So it's imperative that we remember.
You know, with the holiday, Bill, Memorial Day, what's the best way to use this holiday that can help shape a better Christian worldview, especially not only in us, but in our children?
Well, I think the starting point here is really with how parents and grandparents react to this. So it's hard to fake your kids out. I'll give you the example. You guys probably don't smoke, but I've got some buddies that have smoked and smoke. If you tell your kids not to smoke cigarettes, but you do, guess what? They'll smoke cigarettes, because the paradigm that you've created for them is something they watch in and out every day. They don't pay much attention to what you say all the time. They pay attention to what you do. So let's transport that and transfer that over into this idea of remembering. If you don't get excited about Memorial Day, if you don't get excited about your family stories and family members and remembering the past, then your kids aren't going to have that. So it's your enthusiasm and passion that's going to create this cement, this glue that's going to bind multiple generations. You know, they used to call that the generation gap, right, years ago. We all remember that, but there's not really supposed to be a generation gap. There's no generation gap in the Bible. It's all cemented into this common cause, which is Christ.
That's really great, yeah.
Where can people go to watch this video?
They can go to the website, which is thelostsecretsofmemorialday.com. thelostsecretsofmemorialday.com. And we are raising money for some veterans groups there, too. So our company has a number of different products. If you buy those, we discounted the products and quite a bit. And if anybody buys those, we give a nice cut to some veterans groups as well. So you'll see that on the site.
Yeah, that's what a great way and a great tribute to the veterans out there, Bill. And I understand Heirloom Audio Productions. You have a new audio adventure release out, and it's about the California Gold Rush. What can you tell us about that? That's got to be interesting.
Well, this guy, G.A. Henty, who we cover his, we take his stories and we sort of transform them into audio dramas. And he was a Victorian. He wrote during the Victorian period of time. He came over here to investigate the Civil War and find out why 600,000 people had to die, whereas in his country, you had some guys like William Wilberforce, who by legislation just outlawed slavery and without firing a shot. So he came here and he wrote the story called With Lee in Virginia about the Civil War. And then from there he moved across to the Gold Rush because people in England were fascinated with the American West and Indians and cowboys and all of the riches and all these things that were going to happen and take place. And so Henty wrote a story about that too, and it's a fascinating story. The theme we have in the story, I think everybody, that your listeners were going to kick out of is, there's a grace issue here, and the theme of the story throughout is amazing grace. And our good friend John Rhys Davies plays Captain Bailey. The name of it is Captain Bailey's Heir, and heir as in descendant, and not heir as in I've navigated to the wrong port. The story is about some misunderstandings and hard feelings, and we all have those in our families, and so I think that it's one of those stories everybody's going to relate to. Very few people have listened to this and not cried.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, now's the time to cry this time of the year with Memorial Day, with things going on. Yeah.
Pretty good at crying.
Yeah, exactly.
Where can we get information on this?
On that one, you can go to, we made it simple because we thought people would misspell Captain Bailey, so we made it simple by saying HentyGoldRush.com, Henty, Henty, Goldrush.com. And you can watch the trailer, the behind-the-scenes stuff that we did, and you can see John Rhys Davies and our other great actors and actresses being very passionate about what they do behind the scenes.
That's awesome. Another great project you guys have come up with, Bill. And again, the Lost Secrets of MemorialDay.com. People can go and watch that video that you just produced. And again, it's been a pleasure. It's great to talk to you again. And thanks for sharing the story about the Lost Secrets of Memorial Day. And look forward to talking to you again in the future, Bill, about what else you've got coming up.
That sounds great. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, Carri, for taking some time to chat with me. I hope you guys have a great Memorial Day as well.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. You too have a great Memorial Day, and stay in touch. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
All righty. Thanks much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
All righty. Bye-bye. Yeah, that's Bill Heid. He's the executive producer of Heirloom Audio Productions that produces all types of audiobooks, Carri, and what a great program he has in Thompson, Illinois, which is up north, and does a lot of work and does a lot of extensive studying and things like that. What a great video this is.
It is. It's great. Do you have anything we can give away of his?
I do, actually. We do have something we can give away, and we'll do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
That would be great. We can do that for sure.